Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. When it comes to fiction and mythology, gods abound. They play with the lives of mortals like pieces on a game board. Yet sometimes, things move to a more intimate level, and from these unions will come demigods, mortals of divine heritage. How many have we covered? A lot. And here's the thing I want to talk about today. What does it even mean to be a demigod? How do they change the world? I know you're all thinking it. You felt like you were meant to be something more, that you were unique and special. That's a pretty standard feeling to be sure. That is the reality when you are a demigod. Now, there are a few ways to become a demigod. They aren't all born from a god and a mortal. Look at the legend of Maui. In his Maori origins, he is the premature child of a mortal woman who abandoned him to death. But the gods took him and raised him to be incredible. Then we have the likes of the Argonaut, Atalanta, who was also abandoned by her parents and was taken in by the goddess Artemis and became a legendary warrior. You can argue if she really meets the definition of a demigod, but gives us an idea. Throw in the likes of Kukulkan, we've got some range. Now, I want to talk about Heracles real fast. He was the great-grandson of another demigod. And there's a bit more. You see, Hera didn't always know who Heracles was, and she breastfed the baby demigod and further reinforced his strength. This is similar to Maui too. So, there's a few ways a mortal can gain the powers of a demigod. Usually, that will include enhanced speed, strength, and the like. Yet, there's a price. Have you noticed anything in the stories about them? Just about every demigod gets dragged into one dangerous mess after another, and many, like Atalanta and Heracles, meet disastrous ends. Turned into a boar or burned to death respectively. So would you want to be one? Well, what does it really mean to be a demigod? We first need to address what it means in a society to be a demigod. And to understand that, we need to look at how gods are handled. Well, in almost every version, the gods are revered, both the good and the evil ones. There is always some cult serving the evil gods, and the good ones have full temples and churches with leagues of priests and others who serve them. And this matters in a fantasy world. If you are a demigod, you are the child of a god. How do you think the church is going to treat you? Well, there's some politics to be sure. Are the followers and the head of the clergy actually loyal to their god, or are they just running a scam? Well, if it is the later, they will shun you. Yet the first means that you might be revered to the same scale as your parent. Potentially, you could find yourself being treated like a celebrity. You will likely draw attention wherever you go, both good and bad. And with that, you will get the social parasites, which attempt to glom onto you to raise their own standing. And these are the kinds of people who will turn around and stab you in the back when it is best for them. You will likely find yourself caught in the endless problems of humanity's worst aspects. Don't expect much privacy. And we get to the conflict of it all. What is your breaking point? What happens when people push you too far? Will you strike them, break the law, and harm them? Okay, what happens when a demigod commits a crime? How does a kingdom handle you? And this is more politics. What is the connection between the crown and the church? And a big factor is what led to the founding of the nation. Trust me, this will matter. For many monarchs, they claim that their claim to the throne ties back to divine proclamations. So, is the crown the descendant of another demigod, a sibling of yours? Well, that could lead to conflicts with the right to the throne. So, there is a chance of assassination attempts. And there is a chance that you might be encouraged to lead a rebellion to overthrow the crown. But if you can maintain a positive relationship, it might help you if you commit a crime. They could let you off. And Heracles comes to mind here. Due to Hera, he goes crazy and murders his family, which leads to his legendary 12 labors to cleanse his name. This means that if you are a demigod, there is a high chance that you might be employed as a national problem solver and quest clearer. That will keep you busy, but keep throwing you into danger. And that could reinforce your celebrity status. You are the hero of the realm, defeater of monsters. But what happens in war? Well, we can look at Achilles for that. There is a high chance that he was an early teen when he was sent off to fight in the Trojan War. Yeah, you'll also get sent off to wars, and those can drag on for years. But you're a demigod, you got a boost to your strength. Oh, and your divine parent could also give you gifts of armor, weapons, and steeds to further bolster your abilities. Just look at Achilles. His mom got him new armor at the end of the war, and he had several divine horses. Yeah, basically, you could be on easy mode. Doesn't that mean you'd be overpowered on the battlefield against mere mortals? Shouldn't you just walk right through your foes without any difficulty whatsoever? Well, do you remember my video on Karna and how he was in a great war against many demigods? Well, there is a high chance that your enemy will seek out their own demigods. Maybe they're women attempting to seduce gods. Yes, I think mortal women would actively seek out gods to seduce, to produce demigod children, which could be used as a ladder to rise through society. Don't tell me they wouldn't. Just look at women with celebrities. If a woman succeeds, the church would likely support her once they know the truth. Likely, many times, women will attempt to scam the temples with claims of having a divine child. So, they'll need a way to detect the divine presence of the child to find out the truth. You could also see nations attempting to coerce any known demigods to come to their land. And I'll get to that later. Back on the battlefield. Now you've got a foe who's your own level. Can you beat them? Maybe, but then you could get more reinforcements. And now we can talk about the marriage issues tied to being a demigod. We can argue that a nation having a demigod in its ranks can serve as the medieval equivalent of a nuclear threat. So what can a nation do to get a demigod on their side? Well, throughout history, political marriages are common. So if your nation didn't have a demigod, you could offer to let a demigod marry your princess in exchange for coming to your land. So you get a spouse, a home, financial support, and whatever else you could negotiate. I don't know if you would want to try and force your way onto the throne, or just remain a high-ranking noble. Your choice. Of course, a powerful one could likely attempt to overthrow and usurp the throne. They could use their divine origin to get backing from religious followers and the church. Then you can add in the rest of the politics, and you get a pretty standard story, right? But there is something which comes from marriages, and that is children. Are the children of demigods stronger than regular people? If so, I wouldn't be surprised for a nation to try and promote demigods having massive harems. Oh, and the church might even be in support of this. After all, the demigod is of their god's bloodline. It could even be seen as a religious act. Now, if quarter gods are stronger than pure mortals, there is a high chance that they will likely be coerced into armies in large numbers. Thus, regular people might be pushed out of the military and run the risk of being considered lesser than the demigods and the quarter gods. Overall, it seems that if you are a demigod, there will likely be some benefits, and you may find yourself destined for greatness and some struggles. But there is something we haven't touched on, and that is the other gods. Do you remember what caused Heracles to kill his family? It was Hera, a goddess. She went out of her way to keep screwing Heracles over again and again. She hated him. Actually, she was the villain to much of Greek myths. Like the Trojan War, where she sided with Troy, and she aided the gods of India against the rest of Olympus when Dionysus went to war with them. So how easy would it be to get another god mad at you? Well, pretty easy. And I have to say it again and again, Greek mythology would make an incredible soap opera. And if you are a demigod, there is a massive chance that you'll get dragged into it all. And can you handle that? Suddenly, you're being compared to your pure-blooded god brother, who is hanging stars in the sky, while you are trying to paint the living room. Oh, and then you got your toxic aunt, who mocks everything you do. Yeah, the gods got massive egos. And to be dragged into that sounds like a nightmare. We have literally seen Poseidon threaten to flood a city just because the queen said her daughter was prettier than the Nereids. They are jealous and vain. Even Zeus very clearly had his favorite child in Athena. And do you think he would not do something to mess up Poseidon's sons? Yeah, I could easily see that happening. What are you going to do? Go and hide? That might work for a little bit. But isn't that what Medusa tried? It is nearly impossible to escape them. What's stopping one god from sending a champion to bring you down? Yeah, there was a few issues to be sure. Oh, we talked about demigods marrying mortals, but they also did marry back into the gods. And then you are fully tying yourself into their antics. And we see Zeus often attempting to marry others off, both Athena and Aphrodite to Hephaestus, for example. And that could likely end up in a mess. Overall, I do feel that the benefits of being a demigod could help, but you can't be stupid. Watch out for people who want to use you, and do your best to avoid getting embroiled in the politics of the gods. Mortal politics are similar, but they aren't as likely to turn you into a frog for something stupid. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.